Interviews on crypto, blockchain, with your host, Blockchain Wayne, on FTC.
Hey everyone, welcome and thanks for watching. Today we're joined by Stephen Ward. Stephen is a founder of Vyfi. Stephen, thanks for joining us today to talk a little bit about fintech and your project Vyfi.
That's an absolute pleasure, mate. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, man, I can't wait to jump in to learn more about what Vyfi is. But first and foremost, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, and kind of what led you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So in crypto markets, I've been there for about 4 or 5 years now that I've been trading. But prior to being involved with crypto markets, I was a hedge fund trader, focusing on short-term interest rates. Within the hedge fund, we were building, bots. We were building essentially matrix systems to be able to automatically find differences between markets and then trade the differences between markets. From there, I moved into stock brokerage because the essential thought that I had, particularly after Brexit, was I think it's a lot better to take a cut of everyone else's trade than it is to risk it all myself. And in brokerage, we actually ended up working for an analytics platform where we were mostly analyzing the Australian stock market, of course, because that's where I'm from. And then now I've taken the dive and started running my own project in crypto.
Awesome. So Vyfi has a lot of things, going on with it. I know I heard about them at the Miami Crypto Experience a few weeks ago. But tell us what is Vyfi? What's the main goal of Vyfi?
Yeah, absolutely. The main goal of Vyfi is really to bring the tools that DeFi have to offer and to try and bring it to as many people as possible. So we really have this guiding principle that, the majority of the world aren't engaged with the cryptocurrency and aren't engaged with these technologies as they exist. And there is already so much power there that we have at our fingertips. We want to bring that power to people and empower people through DeFi.
Awesome. So Vyfi, most people are familiar with DeFi mainly being on the Ethereum chain, and you guys chose to do it on Cardano. Now, for some interesting reasons, some obvious, some maybe not so obvious. So tell us about the reasoning behind building your project on Cardano.
Yeah, we'll start with the not so obvious.
Yeah.
That is, of course, that is the philosophy that guides the actual construction of the Cardano blockchain itself. Charles Hoskin. He is one of the forefathers of crypto at this point, I'd imagine. But his guiding philosophy is to bring crypto to the people, right? And that philosophy fits in with exactly what I wanted to do when I started this project. So we actually did begin as an ERC20 token, so much so we printed an ERC20 token. You can even go look up the address. It's all there. And it was after we'd printed the ERC20 token, we were ready to rock and roll, that we suddenly said, wait a second, what we actually want to achieve here doesn't align as well with what's happening over here with Cardano. So we decided to take the leap and make that change, which was really difficult considering that people can write in Solidity, which is the language that runs the blockchain of Ethereum, and the language that runs Cardano, Plutus, was invented 6 months ago. So
yeah, I had a dev in Miami. We were talking about Vyfi, and he was like, God, that's going to be hard considering, and he mentioned Plutus being a challenge to do, but there's a lot of benefits of running on Cardano. So tell us a little bit about that. And
yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest benefits is, of course, the scalability, and that comes down to transaction fees and also the rate at which transactions can be processed. So when we're dealing with Bitcoin can only do 2,000 transactions at once. Ethereum, I believe, is 30,000 on a block. Don't quote me on those numbers. But Cardano has got the ability to essentially scale that to whatever the demand on the chain is at that particular point in time. Furthermore, what is really interesting is that the actual language, Plutus, that we just mentioned, by design, it's built from lambda calculus. I don't want to get too heavily into technicalities, but lambda calculus gives you some inherent security benefits that you don't get from object-oriented programming. So in the ability to check over maths and look over possible security flaws, it's actually more easily achievable. So multiple technical reasons.
A little bit of a learning curve for to get more people into the project as far as developers, but greater benefit. Seems like a bigger benefit.
Yeah,
The reward and the benefit is greater than the initial challenge to learn.
That's exactly it. Well, we're here for the long run. We want to be operating, well into the future. So being not something where we're trying to do it overnight, we recognize that it's better to do it correctly and to do it correctly first up.
Gotcha. So tell everybody where is Vyfi in the stage of their projects? Like what's currently going on right now?
So right now we're kind of in we've minted a token, we've done a pre-ICO, we've started building up our community, we've got quite a few active members, we've got a trading education channel. Being a hedge fund trader, there's quite a bit that I can offer in that field. And most importantly, I'd say we're constructing all the ecosystems that we require to get this up and running.
Gotcha. Nice. And so what do you see as far as say potentially a roadmap? What are some of the next steps that Vyfi is taking?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking to open up with one of the initial AMMs on Cardano chain, so similar to a pancake swap. Now, that is going to be one facet of our project that we're looking to have open fairly soon after the Alonzo fork, which is when smart contracts become activated, or basically the Cardano blockchain turns on, in the sense that we think of Ethereum or we think of Binance. From that will be August, hopefully, but we're always relying on another company there, so we'll say August, September. Now within that, we've already got our neural net. So we've essentially got this this smart contract called the bar. Now it is actually something that we took from Sushi. We've adapted it from Sushi because it's definitely working differently.
Right.
So we share profit from our AMM to people that stake Vyfi at the bar. So it's our profit share mechanism for the automated market maker. But we also are running a proprietary trading firm alongside this project. And essentially the proprietary trading firm is being run using a neural net that we've built. I don't know if anyone here knows about neural nets. Should I briefly describe what they are?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So a neural net is essentially an IT system that allows you to get a computer. You feed that computer information, and then the computer teaches itself the most optimal way to interpret that information dependent on what outcome you want to give it on the other side. So in our circumstance, we feed it the information of liquidity pools, which is the value between the currencies inside those liquidity pools, the rate, and then we give it the payout ratio that's being offered by the AMM, and we essentially look at what is the impermanent risk between the currencies whilst weighting that against the payout between the liquidity pools. And then by munging all this data, we can essentially give our bot a risk ratio. Do we want a low, medium, or high risk ratio? And based on that and the thousands of liquidity pools that we've put in, it will give us an approximate, well, not an approximate, it gives us an exact answer. We try to keep it towards that level as much as possible of what are your 25 or 35 or 45 best liquidity pools, and how you should proportion your yourself based on the risk that you're wanting to achieve.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've seen some early renditions of the swap. It looks like it's going to be a great platform. And I was telling you before we started recording, right?
Yeah.
The obvious reasons. You talked about the less obvious, the not obvious reasons, but
I didn't even mention the obvious.
Ethereum gas fees, right? Ethereum gas fees had really caused a lot of projects to migrate away from Ethereum. Props to you guys for going through something that's cutting edge like Cardano versus just settling for Binance Smart Chain. And
yeah,
I don't know, what are your feelings as far as Binance Smart Chain versus Cardano? I know there's some major differences. Maybe you can talk about the reasoning for that.
Look, that's a huge one. The concept of Binance Smart Chain is based on this idea of CDeFi, as CZ described it, or centralized decentralized finance.
Yeah.
Now, ignoring the oxymoronic statement that is, what he's essentially trying to get at, I think, in principle, I don't know, I'm not him, is the idea that you can have an authority that is still, in some regards, in control, and that you can still report and you can still have things occur through, right? But by doing that and engaging with that system, you're inherently giving up that control that other blockchains provide.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as for we're not going to do a full pros and cons list, but as for a large part of the crypto community, what I can say is that the philosophy that this technology is built on is not the philosophy of giving up control to a centralized authority.
Exactly.
So when we're going to set out our project, we're not going to begin with the foundation of giving up control to a centralized authority. Our control is to the governance token.
Right. Awesome. And that's kind of I figured that was the answer you would give. Most people don't realize that, Binance Smart Chain mainly, Binance controls the nodes. So it's a blockchain, but you're right. They pretty much control the nodes. And I love when I hear people say that. I mean, I know that's what we've adapted to call it CFI, DeFi, centralized, decentralized finance. But yeah, when you just sit and think for a second, it's an oxymoron. You can't have both, right?
Yeah, you absolutely cannot have both. And it's within that structure of, and we should actually add, in case people don't know what a governance token is, essentially the people that engage with our ecosystem and in turn earn our coin will be the people that get to vote on what takes place in that ecosystem. So for example, if we want to introduce new farms, we would put a vote saying, hello, we've been approached by 15 projects. We only want to put up 5. Which 5 which 5 are we going to put up? Not do you want to put up, which ones are going to be put up? This is your decision, not ours.
Yeah.
Very much like shareholders in a shareholder meeting, right? You don't do the day-to-day operation, but with things that will impact your investment, you have a say in the process.
Yeah. And that's really, really important. I think people miss that when they look at DeFi, when they look at governance tokens. Most people are just looking at it for gains and or what they can earn passively through different protocols. But it's important because to have a say in what happens versus you just kind of hoping that whoever's in control makes the right decision. And you've seen that. I know we brought you on here to talk about Vyfi. I do want to talk about briefly because it's kind of related. Your recent research work, you were part of a team that helped identify major uncovering with some rug pulls recently.
Yeah, that's correct. Look, yeah, and it's exactly in that front. When you look, and it's really interesting at PoopCoin. We are actually speaking at PoopCoin, and this is the topic that we're discussing. At what point do you allow anonymity to get in the way of a good project, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the idea of a governance token, which gives the people the control. But if you give the people the control, but the team that sits behind giving up that control is anonymous, then do you actually know that you're getting control, so to speak? Or are they just feeding you a false control because you've got no way to actually identify whether you're being given something real? Are these the real options we have right now? Where's my backup to be able to check? Who can I talk to? Some person with a username on Telegram.
Yeah.
Right? These questions are super complex, and I think they're going to be plaguing, our industry for years to come.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem, because it all comes down to trust, and in DeFi, you think you shouldn't have to trust the person, you should trust the tech, trust the smart contract, but there's human input into those smart contracts, and that can be manipulated. And you guys identified an intentional rug pull from a project that, there was flaws in the smart contract, and you saw. You personally were impacted by that, right? The uranium.
Yes,
the uranium
I certainly was. Myself and a bunch of others that I personally know. But it's really interesting within that as well, because a team such as that one sent one set of contracts to one auditor and a different set of contracts to another auditor. Now, both of these auditors have no idea who these anonymous teams are, where they're located, or what they're doing. Or they run only through VPN, they run only through username, and they hide every time that there's evidence of a time zone. Now, when you're dealing with a team that is refusing to identify themselves and there's no way to be able to verify because they're not telling you who the other auditor is, between auditors, whether you've actually received the same contracts, well, then you kind of wind up in a position that, yeah, we have a governance token, but that governance token doesn't actually represent any true control in the hands of the users. It only represents control in the hands of the devs because they still haven't given you anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that brings up a good point because in DeFi, they could have their smart contract. If a team has malicious intent, they can have a smart contract audited and then alter it after the fact and publish it and say, hey, we have this audit when it's not really the true project. So that's one thing that I was thinking about after we first talked. Like it's kind of, there needs to be some checks and balances post audit as far as verifying that the audited smart contract is the one that's put out there and not a bait switch.
And it's super interesting you mentioned that because that's a really nice circle there. A lot of what you described there is some of the issues that Plutus as a language help us solve. And it comes from the advantage of lambda calculus, but there are some safety measures built within Plutus that don't exist within Solidity that allow us to hopefully negate some of those issues.
Nice. That's great to hear because, obviously trust just needs to be implemented. People need to be able to have trust in the system. And absolutely, without trust, you have these projects that are just doing rug pulls. And briefly, I don't want to get into too much detail because we're here to talk about Vyfi, but you identify with this one hack with uranium. You had a special name for it because it's not just a single rug pull, right? So can you tell everybody briefly what you guys uncovered?
Yeah, we uncovered a bit of a rug farm where we basically a set of what appears to be a set of devs just pulling multiple rugs left, right, and center.
Yeah.
I don't really want to name drop any projects we think might be associated with it now in case it's not. But yeah, the evidence is all out there. You can certainly go look. It's all in the blockchain.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing about DeFi. Anyone can launch a project. Any dev, public, anonymous, they can launch a project. That doesn't necessarily mean it's legitimate. So people chasing gains need to do their due diligence. So obviously the team at Vyfi, you guys are public. You're not an anonymous team. But what other things is your team doing to help people ensure that, hey, when Vyfi launches with their AMM, with the swap, with the DeFi protocols, what controls are you guys putting in place to reassure people?
This is actually something that I'm pretty happy with. I kind of designed it myself. I wouldn't say it's world first, but it was a bit of a creative design. What we've essentially done is we've created a holdings company. That's our proprietary trading firm. That's essentially managing money on behalf of ourselves and private investors, and we're going to be sharing the profits from that into our bar. From that, the actual governance token itself, or our DeFi platform, is all held in a trust. Now, this trust has got the trustees as our holdings company, but the beneficiaries as the governance token. So essentially, whilst the trust is being managed on behalf of the beneficiaries, that just means that we are caretakers of what the beneficiaries are deciding. In other words, we're there to ensure a smooth transition of decisions made by the beneficiaries, which is the governance token in the first place.
Gotcha.
So we've kind of had to talk to lawyers, and there's still a bit of work left to go. But we essentially want to set it up so that not only would we be a governance token from a crypto perspective, but we would be a true governance token from a legal perspective as well. That we, as the holdings company, would actually have no legal recourse to. Let's say our governance decides that they want to vote away 95% of our founders tokens, right? We've kept about 1%, I think it is, to split between founders and for some marketing. If they decide to vote away 99% of that, we don't really have a choice, right? Because legally we're bound to the decision of the governance token.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So this is a sort of an implementation of a new layer. I'm hoping to be a new layer of trust within crypto itself. And I feel also, to second that, Cardano is the perfect blockchain to attempt this new layer of trust.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are some great things that that needs to happen, because I think a lot of times people will look at projects, and I've seen so many where, you know, the founders and team tokens is 70-80% of what's out there, you know, and that's okay pre-distribution, but to especially if it's a governance token, having some level of distribution, that's great. You know, you guys are definitely doing it the right way. I've seen you know, some airdrops recently of the tokens.
Yeah.
So
they've gone wild as well. We had some really good response. We got out almost 3,000 original addresses from that.
Nice, nice. And that's great. Get more people holding the project, get it out there, especially with it being a governance token, and let the community, you know, really drive that thing. Because that's one thing I've learned is with projects. I've seen a lot of great projects without community. They really don't get adopted. Some of the best tech in the world, doesn't matter if it's great if people aren't using it. So you guys have definitely figured out that part as far as you know, community and building trust in that community is going to help it grow versus just, and you're building a community based on trust and not a community based on pumps, because we've seen both, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what's really interesting. I think you can really see the difference. Please, any listeners, come and join our trading group. We've got a really, really in-depth trading group that's been making quite a bit of money recently. I'm rather proud and impressed with how we've been doing. But the reality is, you don't, and this I think is something, as someone who runs a Facebook group, you'll say this, you'll agree with me, you don't make money by trade begging, and you don't make money by rocking up and going, hey guys, I'm too lazy to do my research. Could you do me a favor and tell me every coin that I should buy?
Oh man, so many posts. I've got $1,000. What should I put it in? I got this, you know.
Yeah, just absolutely useless. So our trading group is much more focused on the idea of how do we actually develop the skills to be able to find out what we need to find out to make those decisions, right? Now, and in teaching, we've got now 2,300 or so people that follow us there. In teaching these skills and showing people what you need to do to find your own research, I found that we've been building that level of trust with the community in the first place, because I'm literally telling the people, hey guys, this is what scams look like. Here is a couple of examples. You know, you can literally go through them, right? And then they can look at us and they can see the stark contrast of what's taking place.
Awesome. Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring up the rug pull incident, you know, the rug farm incident, because it's important for people to be aware of it, but also know, you know, as a founder of a project, you've also got a vested interest to make sure, which, you know, no matter what, but you've got the knowledge to make sure that your project is solid and looking for the things, one, that people want to see, and then innovating on some things that people need to see or need to look for in other projects as that happens. I think that's what's going to happen over the next few years, is certain projects are going to continue to set the bar higher and different things to improve the trust, improve the security, improve the insurance of people's funds. Because if I go into a DeFi protocol and it loses value just because of the market, that's just, you know, it is what it is. But if it happens, like we talked about with the rug pull, I mean, those are nefarious, malicious actions that are taken that are criminal, you know, basically.
Exactly. And you can't you can't risk manage criminality.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in trading. I'm not going to feel sorry for you if you come to me and say, oh my God, I went all in on Doge right before the wallet that owns 28% of all the supply dumped. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, you probably shouldn't have gone in when you know one wallet holds 28% of the supply.
Yeah. Right before the Saturday Night Live dump, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? I'm not going to feel sorry for you there. But that said, if you're in a Doge liquidity pool and then your liquidity gets pulled and you lose all your money, that's how can you risk manage that? You're done.
Absolutely.
And it, actually, on what you said, you know, I think we're in a really interesting point in this industry where I really feel difficult calling myself a leader because I'm fairly new to doing all of this. But the leaders in this industry need to start looking at ways of, as you said, innovating and coming up with new ideas on how to build those trust levels, right? If we want the world to be able to come to us, which is realistically what we want, right? We are here to change the world. We are here to make sure that these central powers, these banks, aren't taking your money and then doing derivatives with them and making, you know, crazy 700% on it, and then completely bombing out the 2008, completely bombing the housing market, right?
Yeah.
We're here to stop that from taking place and instead give you the power to decide how that's managed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how can you do that if you're scared that at any point in time my money might be stolen from me?
True.
You can't. You can't.
Yeah. Trust is, I guess, the lubricant that makes the wheels turn, right? So
absolutely, it is.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, sorry, that was a little bit of a side note.
Cool. Hey, Stephen, look, man, this has been great talking. As we wrap up, let's tell everybody, where can they find more information about Vyfi? Where can they follow you guys at?
Yeah, absolutely. So visit our website, www.vyfi.io. And that's going to be related to our app, Vy.Finance. Don't go there though. That's currently a car dealership because we're getting trolled by domain by an Australian team of domain trolls. They bought it out from under us.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
I see that happen a lot. Then they try to make it off of selling it eventually.
yeah, exactly. That's all just a bit of fun.
Cool.
But yeah, so Vyfi.io, and then we've got our light paper there. We're currently constructing our Git book to further explain how all the prongs of the business sort of combine and come together. But there's a really nice sort of easy chart which lets you just see it visually. And then I would highly suggest, you know, our team is all public, so you can verify all of our experiences. So we're building the neural net with Propeller or with the minds from Propeller.ai, not from the business itself, but the same people that started that company there. So they've got experience building neural nets for property markets and geospatial data for the last 15 years. Oh, well, sorry, they've only been doing neural nets for like 7. So since they were doing them, really, they were literally one of the researchers at Melbourne University that that was researching these things.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and definitely look us up. Join us on Telegram. Join us on Discord. We run the trading group in Discord, and you know, swing in, say good day, and you know, you'll probably learn something about trading. Hopefully.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that one out. All right, Stephen, man, it's been a pleasure having you on today. Talk about Vyfi, all the great things that happen. You know, most people don't hear about projects until they're fully launched and rolling. And you guys are still in the process. So it's a great chance for people to start doing their due diligence, learn more about Vyfi, and decide if they want to get involved. And, you know, it's going to be exciting. Hopefully, I definitely get what you're saying as far as you're relying on another company, you know, but hopefully deployment in August is a go. And I mean, either way, it's going to happen. Just, you know, we don't know how delays can happen in space, but hopefully that'll launch. And looking forward to seeing some great things and bringing you on after all that, just to talk about some of the progress and
absolutely,
you know, TVL and all that great stuff for, you know, from an active project.
And on that note as well, we're pretty certainly going to be there in October, I believe, at
the Miami Crypto Experience.
At the Miami Crypto Experience.
Absolutely.
So hopefully we'll be able to follow up with how we've been going since launch.
Yeah, looking forward to that for sure. So. All right, Stephen, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode.